Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to this very informal conversation, Japa, why or why not? And on the panel, we have quite a number of different people from different spheres who would be helping us really understand, the all of the different angles of the conversation tonight. So uh, I'm going to be kicking off with Tony. Tony is my friend from before. She's still my friend. And she contributed so much in the conversation. And I wanted her to also be here to share with us. So my first question is going to be to her. Also with us is Lawi Curtis. Lawi Curtis is an entrepreneur in the fashion space who also shared quite a bit of information around his thoughts. I want to hear we want to hear the Japa trend from the entrepreneur's point of view. We also have someone in-house who has actually just recently traveled for studies and all of that. I hope he joins us. If he doesn't, I hope we'll still get that perspective from other people as well. And then we also have Inda too, who is our panelist from the north. There's a conversation around people from the north, northern Nigerians hardly think so much about Japa the way southern Nigerians think about it. So she's here to also give us the northern Nigerian perspective. What can we learn from that, and how might we, take that into our conversations as well? So I'm going to kick off, and my first question is going to go to Tony. So Tony, um, maybe a quick introduction of yourself first before I jump into the conversation, just so that it helps set the background for the
Thanks, Brian. Um, Trying to filter. My name is Tony Williams Adam. I'm an HR professional, but by training about successful teacher, um, married, recently related, their own
Is it just me, or your audio seems to be breaking? What's happening there?
Okay. Um, um, is it better now?
Yes, I think it's better now.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now, I can't hear you, but I saw you give me a thumbs up. So I'm
Oh,
just going to very quickly try to connect this back. Just one second, please. The beg your pardon, is just trying to connect. Okay, for some reason, it's still not connecting. And I need to call in the technical assistance.
okay.
Um,
Well, I think the sound is. Can you hear me right now?
Let me just keep it.
Oh, I don't
I
think.
still can't hear you, Ayo. I
Uh-oh.
can only see you, but I can't hear you. And that's because my earpiece is yet to connect.
But the
So
audio
I
is the
wonder
audio is a
why.
lot clearer this way. Let me just type that.
Yes, I think I'm better now. Ayo, please, can you say something?
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay. Do you want to speak to someone else while I sort this out?
Okay.
Because I know this is recorded, just so that I don't leave it too much time.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to switch to.
Oh, you said my audio is better this way, but unfortunately, I can't hear you at all.
Yeah, so.
I can't hear you at all. So I'm only reading what you put in the chat.
Okay. So we'll skip someone else.
Yeah, skip to someone else.
All right. So my next question is going to go to Lawi. Lawi Curtis, thank you for joining us. Now, my question around now usually when there is this conversation around should you travel abroad or not, should you japa or not, I find that question to revolve around like three main conversations. There are conversations around career people having these conversations. There are conversations around entrepreneurs having these conversations, and it seems like entrepreneurs are less likely to want to japa. Um, but there's also an underlying conversation around you are not patriotic, you should not japa, you should stay and try to build the country, right? These are the thematic areas that I often encounter. So, Laoye, what do you think um, should be the way we should look at this conversation? Because quite a number of people want to, and you can't blame people who want to attempt these trips. You know, what do you think is the correct, you know, um, um, frame of mind that people should have when they want to take this step?
Okay, thank you so much for that opportunity. Let me turn on my view. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, the perspective I would like people to think about whether from the career, approach or business approach is to think like a global citizen. I want to, relocate because I want more opportunities that allow.
Is it just me? I can't hear him. Can anyone else hear him? Hello, can anyone else hear him?
Same as well, if you can hear me.
Okay, I think his network has just disconnected. Ouch. Okay, while we wait for Laoye to reconnect, let me switch to Indatu real quick. Indatu is my friend from the north. Indatu, please just a quick introduction of yourself, then I ask you my question.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, my name is Indet Mohammed. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm also a civil servant. I think I take my civil service job as a side gig anyway. So I'm more of an entrepreneur. That's how I identify more with entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So
Okay, great.
I've
I
been in
like that.
business.
I like that. Your job is the side gig. What a way to flip
Yes,
that.
it is a side gig for me.
Okay. So what are your thoughts around, I mean, the wave is very, very loud in Nigeria today about, travel abroad and relocate. What are your thoughts around this phenomenon, especially, how it expresses itself with northern Nigerians? We see it very clearly that northern Nigerians usually don't have that type of uh, you know experience, even though they also travel abroad, but they don't have that grip of relocate and just move elsewhere. What are your thoughts around this?
Well, my own thoughts, as I stated earlier in the session we had in the WhatsApp group, my own thoughts are to Japa or not to Japa really is a personal choice. My own sister has Japa to America. I think she's been there for about 13 years with no thought of coming back fully.
Wow.
She does visit once in a while. So really, from the way I see things, when I compare my life with hers, just because she has Japan, I don't think she has a better quality of life than I do here living in Nigeria. It's just a matter of choice, and she does have a daughter that is a special needs child. So possibly, I think those are one of the things that made her want to stay in the United States of America because there I think they have more facilities, more healthcare, more healthcare institutions to handle such. So at first, the reason why she went was just to check, to have her daughter checked out. But when she went there, she never came back anyway. So she does come back once in a while, but I think she identifies, she prefers her life in America than in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So that's about that. And then when people talk about patriotism, to Japa or not to Japa, whether you are in Nigeria, you can be in Nigeria and not be a patriot.
Yeah.
And you can Japa and still be a patriot. So we shouldn't, I don't think it's something that we can hang on patriotism alone. It has different, it's a multifaceted thing. So that you, well, if it works for you, you're a career person, and then you have your goals, and just as somebody said earlier, if you want to like kind of be a global citizen, and then you want to avail yourself of more opportunities, I think it's a good thing that you can Japa. But from the entrepreneurial angle, I believe as an entrepreneur, with my experiences here, I don't think I will have it. Well, I'm not having it easy as it is in Nigeria, but I think it will be more difficult for me to set up a business there and run it as I am doing now, with the little success I'm seeing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Inda. Too. I'm still going to come back to you. What I want to hear is around northern Nigerians and their perception around it. But thank you for that quick contribution. Tony, is your audio all right now? Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes, it is. I can hear you now.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to ask you my question now. And my question is this. I know that, when we met in Lagos, I know you were running your own business, so you're an entrepreneur. But you are an entrepreneur on the side who has decided to take the trip and you've relocated, right? So my question is, what were the deciding factors that made you to take that leap? And what do you think people who are considering to take that leap should take very, very seriously? Because again, what we find is that many times, and in fact, what's jump started this conversation was actually a tweet that somebody tweeted, and quite a lot of people realized that their movement over there was not exactly as they thought about it, and led to a lot of broken promises, a lot of depression, and all of that. So my question to you is, what do you think the right steps should be for anyone who wants to take that trip? Because sometimes it looks like a journey of no return, right? So whether you're an entrepreneur or a career person, what are those things that need to be checked, before they take that trip? You're muted. Tony, you are muted if you're speaking. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. I heard the first part of the question around what was my reason, what was my personal reason. So you would allow me answer that, then you would ask me the second question because I think I lost audio.
Okay.
So to the first question around why did I decide to leave? Interestingly, it had always been my dream to live abroad. From when I was younger, it has always been because of the future I envisioned for myself. So I am an HR professional. I studied human resources in school, but there's something slightly different around my being an HR professional. I love people. I love to help people. And very early in life, I had decided that if I was going to help people, I would help them in two ways. Yeah. On the religious side, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, so I preach full time, and that's a beautiful way to help people spiritually. So I do that and I enjoy that. Now, on the professional side, I went into school and I studied human resources, and that's the profession I've had straight out of school. Doing that, for me, is a beautiful way to help people. Now, how do I combine these two sorts of helping people? I realized that for me to flourish, I wanted to work part-time. Now, unfortunately, in Nigeria, there is no such thing as part-time work. You are either working or you are not working. So very early on, I saw that because having studied human resources, I had a lot of senior exams who were in employment, and they will tell you for free that there is no part-time work. You're either working full-time hours or you're not working at all. So I started to research where can I work 20 hours a week and still preach and still be relevant. Because again, what then happens is I also had this very passionate dream to have a family and be very involved with my family. I didn't want to be an absentee mom. I wanted to be the sort of mom that could pick up the kids, from school. We could go to the park. We could, we could have a life. Now, it's interesting about thinking about dreams is that if your dream is very personal to you and your dream is very strong, somehow you find your way. It's almost like, the way they talk about vision boards and things like that, because the vision was so strong in my mind that I was going to have children, that I would pick them up from school in the afternoon, I'll take them to the park, it will be a sunny park, there'll be other people in the park. That dream, and this was not because maybe I had traveled abroad, it was maybe from movies I had watched of how family life was. And that was my goal. That was my goal in life, to be able to have a life where I was still relevant professionally, and also to be able to build on my love for people by preaching to them and teaching them spiritual truth, and still be a family person. Now, how was I going to be able to combine and create that quality of life for myself? The answer was that I wanted to live abroad. So from a very young age, I had always wanted to live abroad. But interestingly, I didn't get the opportunity to live abroad, straight out of marriage. The way some people say, well, I'm going to marry a white person in order to do that. No, I didn't go that route. It's even quite odd the way I have now landed here, because it's taken me 14 years to get here from a dream that had started a long time ago. So it was for those personal reasons, for that intent that I was going to have a life. I was going to have a life that wasn't going to be hustle filled. Now, interestingly, my life in Nigeria was very hectic. I was country head of human resources for a renewable energy company. It was a widespread business. I was traveling. I was constantly traveling. So it was taking me further and further away from my dream, from my vision. So for me, it was getting back. There was no way around it. I'll be 40 this year. I've got 3 kids. It's getting back to basics, getting back to my vision. Now, when I gave my contributions on the group, I did talk about having a plan, being intentional. You can't say because Ion's family moved. I and I are friends, his family moved abroad. Is it your dream? It may not be your dream.
Yeah.
So the way you would activate it, the way you would actualize it will be different, because it's not yours. And if you say, oh, okay, because everybody is moving, I'm not here to school. I'm not schooling. My family is in school. My husband is in school. We're not here because we want to school. We're here because we want to bring that vision to life, which is a slower pace of family life. I bake in the afternoon. I could never have dreamt of doing that while in Lagos. I'm not aiming to be a full-time mom, because that's not the dream. It is being able to access the quality of life I want without sacrificing any of the goals that were important to me.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. What stuck out for me there, in fact, I just written that down, is what is your dream really? And like you said, if you pursue your dream, it would just, the universe would just kind of align. You would find the type of husband who kind of aligns with what you're talking about, and everything would just go in that direction. And sometimes even with your very, very strong dream, things can actually try to pull you off course, and you have to be the one to say, you know what, no, 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 no. So thank you for sharing some of that personal information. So my next question, before I go back to Lawi, I see you're back. Thank you. The network threw you out. My next question is then, if we base our decision around, especially because this decision, a lot of Nigerians want to take it. And I can't blame them, right? Because if you look at the state of the country, you really can't blame anyone for trying to look for a better life for themselves, right? But it sometimes come across as if it's go for whatever reason, right? So, but in your case, you've been very clear as to this was why I did it, and I've done it very, very comfortably. So, what would you say, should be the steps that people should really take a very serious look at before they actually take that journey? Because the reason why for that question is because many people who have taken that plunge, and I'll try and find the link to that Twitter thread and post it in the comment section here. The number of people who were really, disappointed about their experience after having moved was quite alarming. So your experience, what you've gone through, what would you say should be the things that people should take into consideration before they actually take those?
Thanks, Ayo, for that question. You see, but that's a very tricky question to answer, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because even the best laid plans fail.
Mm.
I mean, it would be a lie if I said to you that everything was 1000% fine. I am exactly where I wanted. Yes, huge components of my dream are materializing, but am I 100% where I should be? But the question then is, do I view my glass as being half full or half empty? So is that question of perception? How do you perceive the challenges you have on the way to achieving your dream? So it starts with that very foundational question. What is your dream? What is your goal? And that's highly personal because my goal is different from your goal. I mean, let's take this question of entrepreneurship or working in a career. I have been privileged to do both. I have a full-time job. I had a full-time job in Lagos, but you and I met because I was trying to get more visibility for my HR services company.
Yeah.
So that then says that people will be interested in very different things at different times of their life. You could take decisions based on those interests, but then are you ready to take on the consequences of your decisions? Because your decision will definitely have a consequential action. Are you ready to take the consequences of it? For someone who is contemplating moving abroad, the first question will always be, why are you going? What's the reason? What's your why? That why has to be very heavily crystallized in your mind because the journey will never always be smooth. There will always be some unexpected, issue with the accommodation, unexpected issue with you thought you would get a job, unexpected issue with health, unexpected issue with family members that you're even going with, their support or the lack of it. There'll be so many issues. So if your why is not crystallized in your mind, when you're then experiencing those challenges, your ability to stay on track, your ability to be resilient will be tested. You'll be tested because even the best laid plans will go awry sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you have a very clear why in your mind, when those unexpected issues come up, remember I called it unexpected. So there will be some issues that I suppose I expected. That is where information gathering comes in. Have you done your research? If you're going and you're determined to travel as a student, have you done your research with the student population? If you're an adult student, it's different from being a single student. If you're a student adult with family and you're going with family, have you done your research with the adult population of students with families to say, okay, what was your experience? Because you're speaking to me and you're speaking to me who is a single person who traveled abroad. I have nobody to be responsible for. My experience, even in the same university, will be different from somebody who is coming with kids and family. If you're speaking to a man, if you're a man, speak to a man. If you're a woman, speak to a woman, because the realities on ground are also very different for both genders. So loads of questions on how is the experience for the people that you're mirroring. So I'm mirroring somebody who is going to study, or I'm mirroring somebody who is coming here to look for work. And then the type of work as well. If I'm coming here to work in the very popular category of a care worker, you're not going to go and ask somebody who is in the office, how is life abroad? You're going to ask a fellow care worker or somebody who you know has been doing care work for maybe 3-4 years. That how did you get the job? How did you find it? Now the problem is that people don't ask enough questions, and maybe people also don't volunteer enough information. If you have enough information, some of these realities you would have been told from ground that hey, it's not easy to rent house as an immigrant. They would have told you you need a guarantor. Oh, it's not easy to rent because you need a deposit. The deposit might be 3 months, it might be 6 months. All of those will go into your information gathering so that when the reality then hits you, you're not then depressed.
You are even better prepared to say, okay, can I do it now or should I do it later?
Absolutely, absolutely. So to wrap up my comments, it's definitely get your why very clear. Do your research to the people you're mirroring. If you're, and again, it might be that you're trying to get information from a certain person, the person is not giving you information. The world is so big. Ask other people, they will give you information. But don't say, as we be now, it will be. When we get there, we'll sort it out. Then you would get super depressed because, again, there is no, it's not like, oh, I'm going to call Ayo is my guy. Ayo, please, I need X, Y, Z. Everyone is really trying to get it together. So you may not get that sort of support, and that's enough. That also might be setting yourself up for disappointment because you're expecting Ayo to come to your rescue. Do you know what Ayo does for a living? Do you know if Ayo himself is just above the line? So you come, and then all of that then affects your experience. And also that resiliency. How resilient are you? Yes, you made a plan. Yes, you had your best intentions, but it didn't go well. Are you going to be depressed for 2 weeks, or are you going to pick it up and say, you know what, onward and forward? How do you bounce back? Those are, for me, very important key points.
All right. Thank you so much. You made a comment. You said, "Are you ready to take the consequences of your action?" And I guess that's like the baseline of all of this conversation. And if anyone prepares themselves properly, they ask the right questions, ask multiple different people, I think they will get all the information that can at least be a buffer or a cushion for when they eventually take that plunge. All right, thank you. I'm going to come back to you, but let me talk to Laui. I hope the network will not throw you out again. From the entrepreneur's point of view, again, this is something that I know it's very important as well. I know that oftentimes entrepreneurs in Nigeria, they are attuned to seeing opportunities everywhere, and not just seeing opportunities only in Nigeria, but seeing opportunities even globally. What would you say is a great way to attempt this? What are the opportunities out there when it comes to this conversation around, either to relocate or not? What are your thoughts around that, Howie?
Oh, fine. Thank you so much for that opportunity. Actually, I discovered that I ran out of data.
Oh, sorry.
So many devices were using my plan, so I had to quickly top up. Thank you. Okay, so back to the question you're asking, sir. Regarding these opportunities, what I found out is that for entrepreneurs that are, based in Nigeria, looking at relocating abroad, we can consider visa types that allow us to set up businesses, okay, in the countries that we are looking to get to, such that it can help us bring in our entire families and even people to work with us, so to speak, over there. Like a friend of mine told me about the startup visa in the UK, and then another friend of mine that is also working on several in the US. It dawned on me like, okay, with such opportunities, one can actually have their foot in two places. And then another thing I discovered recently, that was last year, there are, platforms that allow one to set up companies, say, for example, in the US, a fully registered company while you are in Nigeria here, and that can be a springboard to launch. They come at they have their own fee, their own rates as it were, but then if one can get that funding and sort that out, it's a very good stepping stone, especially when you have opportunities to collaborate with people with it, business. Then I remember there's one website, Altasis also, they messaged me via email while I was doing research last year. They are in Saudi Arabia, but they help people register companies as far as UAE that gives you permanent resident visa, and then everything summed up at about $6,000 or so with payment plans attached. And they sent me a document that showed over 200, businesses that you can apply for you to register over there. And I'm like, if one could just have that and you're operating from Nigeria, I mean, the opportunities are endless. So it was when I decided that this is a possibility for me that these opportunities and the information I started stumbling on them. They now showed me that we are not really limited as per living in Nigeria. We're only limited by what we don't know, And I understand also from personal experience, since I know that in business you have to be setting sales goals for you to hit your numbers. So if you have these opportunities and they tell you it's $6,000, do the exchange rate and calculate how much do I need to raise within what timeline for me to jump at it. So the last one that I learned about recently, it so happened that it's my very close friend who went through the education route, first through Hong Kong and now is in the UK. He was one that told me about the O1 visa, and told me about how to go about processing that. And part of the conditions he explained to me was your social media presence. I never knew it was that important. Bros, within 24 hours, I went to set up my Google profile. Sharp. And before you know it, the moment I set that up, when I searched for my own name, I found content as far back as 2017. And he told me, he said, you are on your way with this kind of, records that you have. So for us, if we are looking for opportunities, we could also be creating the online trails, sort of paper trails, such that if they are searching for us, as for immigration application, they can see what we're doing, as it is. So that's my perspective.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Laoye, for that. And you're quite correct. I've experienced it personally. Because, I mean, if I were to give a little background of what I do as a digital marketing professional, I've been running a digital agency for over 11 years. And I started this startup called Accorway that is for, digital certificates and the likes. There's almost no week as at today that I don't get someone trying to headhunt me on LinkedIn saying, hey, your profile is great, we can help you do immigration, if you do this, that. I've never really thought about living elsewhere than Nigeria or the African continent, because for me, again, just like Toyin said, what's your dream? My own dream is to be able to offer a lot of solutions, because there are so many problems on the African continent. I mean, and they just represent a lot of opportunities. And to me, it's always been almost at cross purposes to say, let me go live elsewhere, but be offering the solutions down here. It just doesn't really add up for me. But what I've also come to realize after taking a number of trips, some of the all these countries we're talking about, is to realize that even if you have that, because there's a school of thought, or there's a camp that is very, very native and wants to stay and work and live in Nigeria. But that doesn't mean that you cannot be a global citizen, which is what I think Larry Curtis was trying to share with us. Because your ability to, say for instance, create your business in other countries, today we can do that digitally. You don't even need to physically be there. And for instance, my startup has been registered in 2 other countries. And those kinds of things start to open us up to opportunities. My experience is that Nigerians, especially the younger Nigerians, are not exposed to travel. A lot of younger Nigerians are not exposed to travel. For them, there are not enough opportunities. They don't have money and all of that. So this wave of travel is, number one, is good. I believe it's good. because now Nigerians will be more exposed to other countries, other cultures, and stuff like that. Um, but we just have to arm ourselves with enough information so that we don't, do it the wrong way. Because you can try to arrive at the same objective but going, different routes. And doing it the right way, I think, is what we must prioritize. I know that we might have a few question and answers. Before I jump into that, I just wanted to switch right back to Indatu. Um, Indatu, I want to hear from her, because it seems like Japa is a southern or southwestern Nigeria syndrome. That's what it seems like. Yeah. Tell me about the northern. How do the northerners see this relocation idea, and what is it that makes them not see it as a priority, so to say, the way southern Nigerians see
Well, thank you once again, Ayo.
it? Yeah.
Well, up north here, I think it's just, well, some people talk about contentment, that northerners are more contented being where they are, having what they have, rather than pushing to go out there. I think there's this fear of the unknown. At the same time, there are people that want to travel out really, but most of the people I know that want to travel, they just want to travel for a reason. Some want to go and school abroad. Some of them want to go for a particular training. Some people want to go on holidays. You rarely find people that want to actually travel out there and stay there permanently. Even those who, by virtue of their jobs, are opportune to travel and work outside Nigeria, but most of them, they're just doing it as a job, not that it's a choice. It's the job that took them out there, not that they made a conscious choice of going out of the country and staying there. A lot of people do travel, but they travel to come back, not travel to stay there.
So is it that northern Nigeria is not as hard as southern Nigeria? Because if you listen to some of the people from southwest or southern Nigeria, it's not even about it's about I want to run away. It's almost as if I just need to escape. So what you're saying, because if people want to travel and come back, then it means that there's something that they kind of enjoy that is probably missing down here. So is there something you can pinpoint that is, that is making that so?
I can really speak for myself.
Okay.
On that, because really I would like to travel out. I would like to maybe go spend some time and come back. But the reason why I'm coming back is because I strongly believe my roots are here. I want to live in a place where the community is my community, the culture is my culture, the language is my language. So even if I feel like traveling, I will only do that temporarily. But whatever it is, I'll always come back. And it's not that the northern Nigeria is not hard. It is hard. That is why I brought that point of contentment earlier. Contentment doesn't mean having everything.
Yeah.
It means being content with whatever little you have. And because of, I think there's this cultural thing really. So even if people go abroad, there's this thought even within the community that this person has traveled but he's going to come back. Maybe when his kids are older, maybe when his kids finish school, maybe when he's retired. There's always that notion of coming back. It's never as if that person has gone. No, there's always that conscious thought within the community, within the family, that person is going to come back. There are a few rare instances of families where maybe like the way I said my sister is there. I know families where the sister would be there, to now get the cousin to move, then the other sister, the uncle, before you know it, they will have a little community over there.
Yeah.
I know it's more common down south, but even in the north, we have such communities.
Yeah.
But it's not as common place anyway.
Yeah. I agree with
I don't
you.
know, there's just
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with you because if we were to broaden this conversation, if we were to take a cue from other cultures and other tribes, if you look at the Indians, if you look at the Chinese, they all travel the world. I mean, there's almost no country that you wouldn't find these other nationalities, right? So it's not nobody. I mean, it's not like we're saying it's wrong to travel, right? But I see that if you study the Indians, if you study the Chinese, they quickly, very quickly create communities in wherever country that they go. Even in Lagos, you have a Chinatown, right? And it's based on that community because at the end of the day, you really always need your roots. And maybe Nigerians are just still on the evolutionary path to realizing that we need to also band it together the way other people band it together. Because I believe that if that were there, perhaps some of the challenges that some of the people who have relocated are facing, that loneliness and all of those things, perhaps could have been lessened. Again, what are the cultural reasons for that to have happened? I don't know. Is it something that cultures can evolve to do? There's a possibility about that. But you also mentioned something around contentment, which I think is quite key. But again, I don't think we're going to get into all of that. But thanks for sharing. Let me switch back to Toyin. Um, the question I have for you, Toyin, right now is there there definitely will be some culture shock. Okay, you're coming from a country where things are done a certain way. You're going to a country where you have no idea how things are done. Um, what has been one of those things that have been culture shocks? We hear about some of those things on the news. Some of those things, kind of deter other people from saying, this is the reason why I don't want to go. For instance, case in point, there's always this conversation around uh, gender inclusion, and how it's being forced on kids, and all of those types of conversations. Um, what do you think is a coping mechanism for some of those types of um, situations, especially because as Nigerians, we're very, very religious. We're very, very, we have our ideas around those things. How have you coped with some of those conversations? What are the mechanisms that you are, what are your coping mechanisms around some of those culture shocks?
Thanks, for that question. It's a real valid question, especially with Africans. So let me not just say Nigerians, but African families who come here and they have kids who are of impressionable age. And of course, you're coming from a totally different environment in Africa where things are done in a certain way. Our cultural lineage has conditioned some things that we feel are very acceptable. And maybe again, there might be some moral, religious bent to some of those conversations. So I'll be quite careful with what I say. But the underlying, I would say the underlying compass is everybody has a moral compass. Even if, back in Nigeria or back in Africa, you belong to a certain religion, you were raised in a certain way, or you have your certain belief system. Everyone has a compass by which they are directed. Now, the question is, leaving your home country and moving into another country, there's a lot of acculturization that is happening. You're understanding new ways of greeting people. So a very common one is, and I say this and I laugh at myself just thinking about it. So whenever I start my emails, I'll start my emails by saying, "Hi, Hayo, good afternoon, how are you doing? I trust this email finds you well." It's like it's like a normal, as if you're seeing the person and you're saying, "Hi, good afternoon." But then you get an email that is just saying, "Hi, Toyin," based on the conversation we had last week. You're like, "Come on, don't you
Don't even greet me first.
not even greet me?" Even as basic as that sounds, but it's who you are. So the flip side of that is you're getting into a conversation or you're calling someone on the phone and you're saying, "Hi, good afternoon, how are you doing? My name is Tony Williams," and you want to start all that long conversation. So say, "Hi, you're right." And they moved on with the conversation. You're still there trying to ask how are you? And then it might make you feel like, oh, this person is being unfriendly. They are being unwelcoming. You're trying to reach out. Nobody wants to spend time to chat with you. Is that the conversation here is shorter. It's shorter and straight to the point. Now, how do you cope with things that look as small as that, and then the bigger pieces of culture shock, like the ones you mentioned around moral, gender equality, gender inclusion, and things like that? The first guiding star is what guides you as an individual. What are your own guiding principles? I mean, if you have your guiding principles and you're well grounded in your guiding principles, again, I would be very wary of pulling into the conversation people that will come and have the view that, oh, religion is a conditioning. That's a separate conversation on its own. So we won't even go there. That's excluded from this table.
Yeah.
But we come back to the point of you have your own guiding values, the things that guide you in how you decide, how you approach major decisions, that you have moved into a new country and you're trying to get into a new environment. You don't lose the essence of who you are. You remember who you are. So if who you are isn't the kind of person that acts in it, yeah, so people's conversation style might be shorter, but then that doesn't make you an impolite person. So when you meet somebody, you will still be polite enough to say, "How you doing? How things with you?" You won't just say, "Ayo, that project we were talking about," because that's just not who you are. And then, interestingly, the environment is also reacting to you. So I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, you might come across some people that make you feel some type of way." Yes, that's true. That's there. But then, if you're fully grounded in who you are, you're bringing all of yourself into the conversation. You're bringing all of yourself into the environment. And the truth about it is that there's a lot of personal issues that people have around being grounded in who they are. So when they get into a room or they get into a space, they are swallowed up by the space. They are so unsettled by the space that they forget who they are. And then all sorts of things then happen and start to unravel. But if you remember who you are, you bring who you are into any space you enter. That environment will accommodate you. Because guess what? One flower doesn't make a bouquet. It has to be, the bouquet is made up of many beautiful flowers.
Absolutely.
So you can't then say, "Oh, just because I am now in another country, my accent will change, my taste will change, how I talk will change, how I feel like will change." Yes, there will be some modification. And the modification might be for the better because maybe previously, before, you've been quite closed-minded about quite a number of things. But now, you're interfacing with people from different cultures, so you are beginning to expand. But then, the essence of who you are, the value system, and this is very important because of families, again, with children of impressionable ages.
Yeah.
When you bring them here, you have to keep up your routine. If you didn't have a routine at home, please find a routine on getting here. Because, again, I use myself as an example. Back home in Nigeria, I was traveling a lot. I was traveling a lot by way of work. And of course, you can't be traveling and you can't tell us you're traveling and you're video calling the kids every evening. So it's never going to be like.
Yeah.
But now you're here. Interestingly, you're the only face they know. You are the only face they recognize. yes, they're getting a lot of input from the environment, but your faith is still the strongest. Your voice is still the strongest. Are you building on that? Are you intentionally creating moments where you're re-emphasizing to your family who we are?
Mm,
For me and my family, those are the values, those that creation. So we're not going out all day. We're spending evenings discussing who we are and how who we are needs to be reflected in this environment. Because then what happens is you're bombarded left, right, and center with so many inputs, and then you might lose yourself. You
mm.
might lose yourself. So you have to be very conscious of who you are. You must continue to reiterate who you are. Even as a single person, you have to remember, like the way we say it in Yoruba, remember the child of whose father you are, so that you
Absolutely.
don't then get there and you're absolutely lost.
Mm,
You don't know yourself, you don't know how you're acting, you don't know how you're coming across, simply because you changed the address.
yeah.
That won't work.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I mean, stay grounded, remember your values, because I mean, especially if you have children of impressionable age, your face is the strongest that they know. I mean, you're in a foreign land, and that can be really, really scary. Thank you for sharing that. Next, I want to ask Maurice a question. Maurice is one of our panelists as well. He recently traveled for study. I want to hear from someone who jackpot for study and who, um, for lack of a better word, was, I mean, had a different mindset before traveling, and then stark realities, were some of the things that actually set him straight. And this is important because, again, this is why this conversation started in the first place. Because there was a tweet I found, lots of people saying, wow, if I had known, I'd have done it differently, and all of that. Morris, what was your impression before going? What were the stark impressions that happened to you when you arrived, and how have you moved on? The reason I'm asking this question is so that anyone who is listening, we've got about 23 people right now listening. If anybody who is listening who is intending to travel for study or whatever, what are those red flags that they must really take care of before they actually take the plunge, so that you can be like a stopgap for them? What are those things that you're going to say to them?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'd like to start this way. When it comes to impressions, I sort of tend to believe that we Nigerians naturally um, just think that some of us basically that are not that we just that find ourselves in what we consider as an opportunity situation, circumstances, or society always always have a wrong impression. I'll give you this a history of when those of us, those of us leaves would think that, once I get to Lagos, I go blow.
Hmm.
It's as rooted in us as that.
Hmm.
That is the same way some of us think, once I enter abroad, I go blow.
Hmm.
So most times when people come to me and talk to me about this, oh, I didn't think it was this hard, I tell them this, so they understand that it's not really just about abroad itself. It's about that most times our mindset is that the grass is greener on the other side. And most times, just because you see those days, let's say you come back for Christmas and you see Emeka, he left for Lagos and he came back with a car. Omo, be like say Lagos na where everything dey happen, oh guy. Cause I beg, no people follow you go Lagos. You get, it's always been like that.
Hmm.
So, but then most people come to Lagos. I'm not even talking about that one now. Most people come to Lagos and realize that, wow, the hustle is real. Most people still come to Lagos and start sleeping on that bridge.
Hmm.
We all know the Nigerian story of leaving your village per se to Lagos.
Hmm.
So that's the same thing that has extended to traveling be it UK, be it US, be it Hong Kong, wherever. All right. So for me, fortunately, I am enlightened enough to be sort of analytical, and I won't say I had a totally wrong impression. I knew things were going to be hard. For instance, I give an example. While I was planning my trip to the UK, I googled what is the minimum wage because I don't like building castles in air. What's the minimum wage? What's my school fee? Okay, if I have minimum wage, how many hours do I have to work? Because everything is online.
Mm.
If you go to the UK website, you see everything. So my first advice here for everybody that wants to travel, don't depend on what other people tell you. Make your own research. Just to make that effort to make your own research. And the internet is so beautiful that almost anything and everything you need is there. Play, come and play. Just open the Gov the UK website. You say it. You're entitled to 20 hours. Google what is the minimum wage in UK. You'll see, multiply by 20 hours, and you know how much you're earning automatically. Do your math. Okay, my tuition, how much is it? Can I cover my tuition? So there's really no excuse not to have an idea of what you're coming to face. But then, of course, the truth is still remains that when you come here, there are a lot of things that will hit you that even Google couldn't cover for you. For
Mm.
instance, Tony talked about the housing market. You get certain accommodation. Google can't really tell you enough how hard it is
Mm.
to get a house. For me in London, it was not easy, and it's still not easy
Mm.
even up to now. In fact, the story is getting worse, and the COVID-19, the recession is even making the so-called abroad become harder than it actually was.
Mm.
As where most of us we are actually aspiring to come. Together. So about the mentality, first of all, I think anybody that's coming needs to understand that you are leaving your comfort zone, and it has never ever been in no history of no mankind that any man ever left his comfort zone like 100% risk for him.
Mm.
I mean, they say even on the bed of roses there are thorns, right?
Yeah.
So you should just understand the fact that you're leaving your comfort zone, and unless maybe you have a family member that is telling you, come, that family member will probably give you some sort of support. But then reality also hits that most people when they come here they realize that we Nigerians are not exactly 100% welcoming, supportive as we are back home.
Mm.
Because when you come here, a lot of people still expect you to be able to do something for yourself. While we Nigerians in Nigeria, most times are used to being, you know, hand carried by our relatives.
Mm.
But I've seen a lot of Nigerians come here and their relatives are like, right, you need to go out and hustle for yourself. Because when the bills are high, I don't think hustle. So you need to hustle. But you thought probably you have a very
A free
soft
pass.
landing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then that doesn't mean I've seen people that their relatives were like 100% supportive.
Supportive. Mm.
100%. Like I know I have friends that they were staying in free houses throughout their school period. They didn't have bills to pay, nothing. All they had to do was just okay, maybe cover your tuition. But every other thing like feeding, bills, accommodation, you have no problem. So if you're fortunate enough to have that kind of thing, makes life easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
another thing I like to tell people is that
Okay.
if you believe you have somebody in the UK, I tell people that as the most secretive Nigerians I've ever seen, and Nigerians have managed that. They can hold us.
Tell me about it. I mean, some of the people I know, it was after they've already relocated that you know that they've done so.
I didn't understand it until I got my own story. I don't know why. I don't know that mentality. Why? Whether it feels like somebody is against or something. I don't just
It's
understand it.
village people. It's village people
They're
thing.
not prone. They're not prone to hold it that. And most times that makes people. That makes. I think that's another reason why a lot of people don't have enough information
Yeah.
about what they're going to face because they're so secretive that most times they fail to tap into the wealth of knowledge of people that could have actually told them this is how this thing is supposed to be. Okay? And then also there's this pushover or push off that when you are telling people how hard it is in the UK, you get results like, you know what, Moko come. Okay?
Mm.
If you had like that, come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of the whole Nigerian thing is a mix, it's a
Mm.
mix. It's not really so, it's not something you can just say this is this and this and that. There's
Okay.
realities on ground that abroad is not easy. When you come, if you don't have anybody at all, it can be depressing.
Mm.
I'm yet to meet one person that came to the abroad without any form of support or family that didn't go through a mental breakdown. Your mental health will be seriously challenged. You get especially when you are on the student route,
Mm.
because the high bills will be due, then you have the tuition you need to pay. The fact that, and we believe it or not, we talk about working hard in Nigeria, but for those of us that work for these jobs, I don't think anybody in Nigeria works as hard as in Nigeria working abroad, whatever it is you are. We're not. Even I've seen nurses when they get hit by how hard and how stressful shifts are in abroad versus the whole laissez-faire attitude in hospitals in Nigeria. When you get hit about how the bits of our shifts are, plus the money, plus bills, everything, trying to make ends meet and everything, it's really, 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 really hard on someone. So a lot of people get their mental health gets stressed out during that.
All right.
If you don't have support, if you don't have people to talk to,
Yeah.
it can really get to you.
Okay.
I think
Morris, let me cut you in just quickly. I think you've more or less laid a very, very practical, foundation for this conversation. And I was looking out for you earlier in the conversation. I didn't know you were already in. I'll have asked you a question earlier, but thank you for opening up to us on this public forum about some of your experiences. Toyin needs to leave, so I want to say thank you, Toyin, for staying with us for an hour. We really appreciate your contribution so far, but I'm going to just let you go now. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to come back and ask you questions. Anybody who has questions, we'll try and see if we can send some of those questions to you, and you can answer. Thank you, Toyin.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and well done for the good work as well.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, bye. Now I want to ask a question from Ayodeji Famubode. Ayodeji Famubode is my egbon. He's lived in the UK for as long as I can remember, and I think that he's a great resource for this conversation. The question I want to ask him is twofold, and I want to really just ask him so he can share with us from his wealth of on the ground experience. What is the best route for three classes of people? Sorry, this is going to be a long question because I see three classes of people wanting to relocate. It's either students. Students can be single students. Students can be family dependents, and all of those. That route. It could also be career people who I'm getting a job, I'm going to relocate, and all of that. I want to just just do it. And then the entrepreneurs. These are the three classes that I see. If there are more, I'm not quite sure. But what would you say, being someone who has lived for so long in the UK, what would you say is the best route, or what are the best steps for people to take if they're going to take that plunge, if ever?
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Volo. Apologies for joining late. I didn't get what the third group is. You have students of whatever category, then you have professionals.
Yeah.
Skilled workers who want to relocate. What's the third category?
Entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs. I think the worst route to take is to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship itself is hard in any case, even where you have an entire network because you're a risk taker.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, entrepreneurs have different categories. So you might already have a successful business that you want to take elsewhere and take advantage of the economies, either of scale or diversification, infrastructure, skilled workers in that place. So if you're a big business and you have your capital, then it's not a problem. You do your math, the numbers work for you, the cost of relocation, the cost of doing business there, and versus the market, then it's okay. I would say, in my view, the best way is to study. Because as you study, you get recognized skills, recognized qualifications wherever you're going. Also, in most countries in the West, when you come somewhere to study, there's a perception that you have an open mind and they've been able to influence your personality and they are therefore more accepting. One thing I found out in my sector, I work in financial services and I have for some time, is having gone to the same school as those recruiting you is a very big plus. It used to happen in Nigeria too. When I started working in Nigeria, to meet someone who went to your uni, there's a camaraderie you immediately develop and it gives you a footing. So studying anywhere is perhaps the best route, especially as you probably be of a younger age range, even if you're coming for postgraduate. You study there, you recognize your certifications, and you sort of blend in with people who are not so demanding, your fellow students. So that equalizer is always a very great way. Besides, there are things that give you work experience, and you get apprenticeships, you get a foot into the door. For the Nigerians who are born in the UK, and I have a whole horde of them working in financial services now, and they are not disadvantaged like my own generation was because they went to school here from scratch. They know how to make demands. For example, when you come from Nigeria to a place like the UK, we all think we're good in English, the language. But there are so many nuances in the language that are cultural that we don't know. For example, when my boss tells me, I'd be grateful if we could complete this by Friday, he's actually telling me that if this is not done by Friday, you're going to get sacked. That's not what a Nigerian sees the language as.
That's not what I understand by that.
Well, that's what it means. And for every country, I've had the same experience in Germany. There are nuances at the height of every language that if you don't understand, you just cannot rise. You can be a foot soldier, you can be a good security guard, they accommodate you. But when you want to demand that for which you think you are qualified, the cultural nuances can be a hindrance. And if you go to uni here, sort of pick those up, and it's good. Whereas if you come as a professional, they will pay you for your skills, but don't expect to rise without knowing the cultural nuances. And it's the same all over the world. I'll give you a personal example. When I left uni, I was working for UAC in Nigeria as a management trainee. We had one fellow with us who was a Ghanaian, unbelievable accountant. Yes, he was Ghanaian, black like us, schooled in Nigeria. But the fact that he was Ghanaian meant he had a disadvantage. There were things we would talk about that he just couldn't blend in. The same way with the senior managers. I mean, someone would pick you and say, your name is Ayo as well. Come. I mean, the group head of personnel was, his name was Ayo as well. Finally became CEO. It took a liking to me because his name was Ayodiji as well. And that itself, you'll be shocked how much it gives you a leg up. Just like you have in Nigeria, I was working with a manager who really liked me, but she was from Nnewi. And the mere fact that I speak a few Igbo words got us so close, she gave me a leg up. Now, these are things we think maybe UK society is fair because they pretend to be fair. But these nuances are very, very important, and you only pick it up after a while. And if unfortunately you go to school there, you won't know those nuances, and then you feel cheated and bullied later on because you don't know how it works. And that's why we all say, okay, give it some time, you just arrived, you don't know yet. But these are the unspoken things you cannot find on Google, no one will tell you, it just happens to be so.
Yeah.
So when you come in as a student, the younger you come in, the better. because then you have the energy, you have the enthusiasm, you learn your lessons, and you adapt. The problem with the skilled professional is he already set in his ways.
Yeah.
I have friends banking in Nigeria. Banking in Nigeria is not the same elsewhere. It's not like here. Just like the person that spoke to talk about working. Even though I have a senior position at work, I can't take phone calls except it's an emergency from my wife. You can imagine you work 9 to 5, you don't get a break apart from having a coffee or having lunch. You don't have time for someone coming to see you. No one can come to see me. No one at all, not even my family. That's not how it is in Nigeria. You want to go and see your brother in the office, you go and see him now.
Yes.
And you and your colleagues, sometimes you take a break. You chat a little. Life in Nigeria is very different. These things we don't notice and we don't appreciate because we spend our time complaining about NEPA and so on. But you don't know how lucky you are to have someone to complain to. After you've complained to yourself and started talking to yourself, take some time to know you are going crazy. And there are other things no one tells you about, like the weather. Oh, I've been cold before. You have not, I tell you. And when the cold is relentless, I've seen Nigerians crying at the bus stop just from the weather.
Damn.
The kind of cold that gives you that malaria bitterness in your mouth. And they tell you have another 4 months of this to go. Just leads to depression.
You just start crying.
And then when you notice that everybody is cold because of the weather. I mean, I've been on a train ride for about an hour and a half and no one said a word. And when you are used to taking your molo and you're having conversations, someone is coming to sell a guru on the bus, and you don't like that, but you don't know that you're going to miss that eventually in your life.
Oh my goodness.
Just to have people. I mean, COVID, for example, the pandemic taught us how much we needed people. All the people you complained about, you start missing them because you're staring at your 4 walls. Now you understand why when they want to break prisoners, they put them in solitary.
Absolutely.
So those are the unspoken things. After you settle down and you get what you think is a good job, your children go to good schools, and then you find out that on Christmas Day you're going to stay home by yourself because the trains are not working. Except you have a car and you have someone who wishes to accommodate you. My first Christmas here was my only bout with depression. I was staring at my own 4 walls, eating my own turkey, eating the food I cook, watching TV, and rubbish is on TV. Now those things seem small compared to someone who's talking about kidnappers in Nigeria. But I tell you, it's like when you don't have children, you are complaining about having children. Then when you have children and they break your TV, then you start wondering. You see, no one can really tell you how it is
until you
until you
experience
go
it.
through it, until you experience it yourself, and you know that you just have to find your peace within. So, but I'll say, back to your question, I've rambled on a bit. Back to your question, I think the best way is if you can come to study. The previous speaker talked about how hard it is, how expensive it is to study. Everything is expensive. This we are not used to. And you have no support network. Your relatives don't owe you a thing. We should have learned that in Nigeria. We haven't. We come here with those expectations. But now, even the person that wants to help you cannot afford to.
Simply can't afford to. Not that they don't want to, really.
You cannot. Those who want, many don't want to because they are frustrated. Those who can afford to, it just doesn't make sense for them to suffer to help you. I'll tell you what, at a particular stage, the tax rate is 50%.
Wow.
So if they give you a salary of £100,000 a year, only £50,000 will get to your hand. That's very hard for us to understand. You see your job offer, hey, £100,000, hey, I'm a millionaire in Naira, I'll be a billionaire soon. Half of it does not come to you. And it was almost £2 per litre for diesel at one point. So can you imagine paying 2,000 naira per litre for diesel? And now other things come in. There are some parts of London you cannot drive to without being charged. for the mere fact that you're using a diesel engine that's not compliant.
Mm.
The emissions are just too high. So you pay £13 a day for going to those areas.
To drive into central London, you go and
you have a charge to pay. It's called the congestion charge. These are things that even if you Google it, it makes no sense to you until you get caught.
Mm.
And if you don't pay that day, you get a fine of £60. If you park in the wrong place on the double yellow line, for example, you don't tow your vehicle, you get a letter in the post. And there's no escape. Now, some may have not experienced racism, but everybody invariably at some point experiences it. If not at work, it will be elsewhere.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter how rich you become, you're going to experience it at one point. And after a while, you have a lot of good food, you have 24/7 electricity, which you're paying through your nose for. You have security as far as you're concerned, depending on where you live. Then you start wondering about other things. Rich people have problems too.
Absolutely.
So all I would say is,
like
like
the
the
previous
previous
person, I think it was Morris,
Morris,
the
the
previous
previous
person
person
mentioned,
mentioned, we have already a mindset growing up in Nigeria that is spoiled. We really don't know how things work. For example, life here, Western values is based on long-term thinking.
the
The
main
main
supermarkets
supermarkets
here,
here, like Tesco or Morrison's, I know one of their buyers, they make about 50p on a product. Their idea is that they want to sell a million units. And they can do that because they are comfortable that the society is stable enough.
Absolutely.
In Nigeria, when you want to sell something, you want to make a quick profit. But that short-term thinking also affects everything else.
Yeah.
You want to buy a car, you can't afford it. They say you pay £200 a month to buy a Range Rover. And they'll give it to you truly. When you pay £200 a month and you're driving a Range Rover about, attracting attention to yourself, and then suddenly you have a problem with the car, and labor is not cheap. They say you fix your tires for you for £2,000. And you say, that's the cost of it. You should have bought a Toyota instead. And there's so many things going on like that that will hit you because you don't think long term.
Yeah.
Where the average Englishman is driving a Vauxhall Corsa, a tiny hatchback that he bought for about £700. But he has a 5-bedroom house that he knows he has to pay for the next 25 years.
Because
So
for
he's really
him,
watching.
because for him, the car is not. I mean, that's not the most important thing. But
It's just locomotion. You probably take the bus most times.
mm,
Now that long-term thinking, we are not used to it. He's going to pay for 25 years to own that house. Meanwhile, he also knows that when he gives that house to his children, they're going to have to pay 50% of the value in tax. Inheritance tax is called, even though he has paid for the house.
okay.
I have another colleague. He's American, but his mother was British. His mother left him a house, two flats in Knightsbridge, very expensive things. He had to sell one to be able to get the other one.
That's crazy.
Because 50% inheritance tax on anything. You've already bought the property, you paid for it, you've sweated for it your entire life. Your children can't just take it.
They have to pay their part. Basically, that's what it is.
They have to pay inheritance tax to inherit. So even inheritance is not free. These are things we are not used to. So you get there, people think that you've been in UK for 5 years. You should have hammered by now. The concept of hammer itself is totally illegal. We're talking about winning the lottery. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have that.
Let me butt in here. So sorry for cutting you short.
Please go on.
Yeah. I know that you've been able to give us, I mean, the last 5 or so minutes, a sort of a grounding, because I mean, your experience there, how many years you've been living there, basically, only you can speak to this type of conversation. And I want to kind of open it up now to question and answer, especially because you're here now, and quite a number of other panelists are here. But I'll kick off with the first question. So if anyone has questions, just raise your hand and we'll try and take it. I don't want this session to last till wee hours of the night, but let's ask our question and we'll be able to just make him even more grounded. So my question will be to you, Mr. Pamukodi. There is a sense, because one of the reasons why we're doing this, or why I'm doing this, is to try and equip as many people as possible with the right type of mindset and right type of information. There is a concept that I think is quite prevalent in Nigeria, especially around people who believe so much in the country and want to stay and make sure it works and all of that. There's a concept around, patriotism, and them seeing people who are relocating or who are Japa as not being patriotic. For me, it just goes back to the same question around people not being able to hold two different arguments in their head. I believe that you can be patriotic and also relocate. And even though we have people who are even living in Nigeria who are not patriotic, so it's not a question of everyone who's staying back is patriotic, and it's not a question of everyone who's running away is not patriotic. What are your thoughts around this? And how do you think some of these challenges or can be surmounted, in the sense that, because we all want a better future, we know that the government is more or less the last person we need to ask for some of these things. We have to kind of help ourselves in some way. What are the things you think can help in this direction? And don't forget, anyone who is listening, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat or you can just raise your hand.
Okay, regarding the question of patriotism, it's again, it's very nuanced, but I don't think living in Nigeria has anything to do with you not being patriotic. So anyone that says that is being emotional, and I think it's actually wrong. We live in a global world. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately for a good reason, unfortunately, the global system is Western based. And since 1861, when Lagos was taken, just to give the context, our values and our aspirations have become more westernized. Our education is Western. Our ideas about the standard of living, they are Western. And all those things that are Western, the best of it, we can only get in the West. So if you want a Western type education, the best of it you can only get in the West. You want to study Western medicine, you are better off in a Western university. You want to work with technology, you're better off in the West, where you have the infrastructure for it. Now, what you want to do with that has nothing to do with your location. And I say this because one of the fears that many of us here we have is that our children will not know home, they will not know their culture. I think it is so ingrained in us that even our children who have never been to Africa or to Nigeria, there's something about it that's either genetic or spiritual, that it comes out eventually. And I'll give you a personal example. When my children were younger, their friends were predominantly white because of the area we live in. They didn't really identify themselves as being Nigerian. They were as British as everybody else. As they grew older, they somehow just gravitated towards African friends. We didn't influence, it just happened to be so. Now, one of my daughters, who's a teenager, I ran into her in the shopping mall. She was with 4 friends. One of them was white. And all of them were saying, good morning, uncle. Even the white girl who was trying to be as Nigerian as possible. It's true because they're all listening to Burna Boy and Whiskey now.
Interesting.
So and I was shocked about how much they knew about Nigeria because I didn't teach them that. And now when we're watching the World Cup, they're supporting Nigeria, not England anymore.
Interesting.
So, and that's for people who have not even lived in Nigeria before. So it's not nothing to do with patriotism at all. I keep telling people that want to wear agbada all the time. When the Japanese Prime Minister wears a business suit, do you think he's not Japanese anymore? Or do you think
less Japanese for wearing a business suit?
Or because Fela Anikulapo Kuti studied music in England, that is less African? I don't think patriotism comes into it at all. You have to structure your life, whatever you think will take you to your goals, whatever the country, whatever the location. An Igbo man that has come to Lagos is not less Igbo, easy. It's exactly the same thing. Of course, there are cultural challenges you have to face. You are worried about the influence on your children. I mean, this LGBT thing is a concern for most of us. But when it comes to patriotism, I don't think there's any argument there at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I think that kind of sheds a lot of light on that. Hopefully, these conversations will continue and the light will continue to make a lot more sense. I've got a hand up from Nicole Unique. Please go right ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question. Nicole Unique, are you there? Or was it an error for raising your hand? Okay, we can't hear from her. Do we have any other questions? Let me see in the chat if there are any other questions. Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions here. Okay, Jegede Jibola, please go right ahead, unmute yourself and speak to us.
So my question is, how many years or months would anyone adapt into such a new system? Because I've been on Twitter, I've seen people actually saying they've broken down mental health challenges and all those things, right? So give or take, how many months or weeks or years you think one can actually settle in that system and try proper? That's just a question. Thank you.
Okay.
To give my view on that, I think there's a rule of thumb here. You can pick any number you want, finger in the air. It depends on your age and the stage of life you are in. Because it has to do with how set you are in your ways. There are people who have been here 20 years and they have never adapted. It also depends on your background. So no matter how Japa you are, when you get here, it depends on the stage of life you are in. And there are things that we are just not used to. So your personality also has a lot to play. If you are someone who is flexible and adaptive, you find it easier. If you're a strong personality, you'll be hammered down by your experiences. The more you resist. So there's really no hard and fast rule about it. But as long as you are clear about your goals. I have a colleague that came here about the same time I did, 24 years ago. He was a Lagos man from Mushin. Wasn't a Jabota like me. He was clear that he only wanted to come here and make pounds and go back to Nigeria and build a house. He had a focus. So while I was trying to build a career here, he was just trying to do multiple jobs and send money back home and build his house, which he did, and he went back. He didn't have to adapt. He didn't have to do anything. So you just have to be clear about your goals. If, for example, you want to work in the medical services, your attitude towards patients is going to be very different. Whereas in Nigeria, the doctor is king. Here, the patient is king. So again, when you look at that, it has little to do with your level of skill or intelligence. Here, for example, nurses have a lot of power, whereas in Nigeria, the doctor is king, and for the nurses, the doctor is Oga. If you raise your voice at a nurse, your career might be finished, no matter how skilled you are. Those are very simple things. It depends on how adaptive you are. Some people do it quickly, some people resist it, and you can stay resisting for a long time because nobody will force you to learn it. Only your experiences will.
All right.
You can work with people who will see you make a mistake for 10 years. They won't tell you if you are not observant enough. But the day you get into hot soup, like we say, then you say, why didn't you tell me this? That's like this. So it can take as long as you want or as short as you want.
All right. I think the answer there basically is how pliable are you? How adaptable are you to, the different conditions that you might find yourself? And I think this answer probably is adaptable to question that Omotayo Oluwakemi asked. But again, her question is, what chances does a tailor have? Before we answer that question, I'd like Ruth Oluwachesin to ask a question. I saw her hand was up, or has she disappeared?
That's the question I typed. I typed the question.
Okay, so how true are the adverts on Facebook indicating tailors are needed in the US with visa sponsorship? So one disclaimer I want to share here is that we are neither an immigration service nor into any of those types of things. I've just basically pulled together a number of people who have different experiences living abroad, and while they might be able to shed some light, I would say that you're researching into that by yourself is something that you might want to really, really deep down into, because we've heard tonight where people have mentioned to us that do your research, ask as many questions as possible so that you don't jump into what you are half prepared for. So and with that, I don't know if Mr. Fangbody has some. I mean, you don't live in the US, so I don't know if you have an answer to that.
Yes, I mean, like one thing I can say for sure is that tailors are not in high demand anywhere. Except maybe China, and we know they have over 1 billion people, so I don't think they need anybody. Now, one other thing is, in terms of systems, a tailor over here is a very highly regarded craftsman. It's not like a tailor in Nigeria. What we call tailor here is what in Nigeria we call fashion designer, who will charge you 100,000 for what your regular tailor will charge you 10,000 for. For example, it's cheaper to buy a suit from a shop than to have a suit made for you here. The tailor suit starts from about 800 pounds. But when you look at it, that this fellow has to learn that for about 15 years before he can be allowed to start making suits for people, then you understand why. So if you're coming from Nigeria, either to the UK or to the US, at best, you might have some success amongst the Nigerian community who want to make Nigerian outfits. Now that demand is not going to be great because, like you said, they're struggling for their pounds. They can easily send the money home to someone where their pound sterling has greater value and get it made. But for someone to sponsor you to get a visa for your tailoring skills, I really think it's very far-fetched. Now, I have not investigated what that advertisement is about, so I cannot say anything about it, but in general, it sounds quite far-fetched. Now, if you are a programmer or working in tech or in medicine, that sounds more likely. But for a tailor, there's just too many scammers out there.
Yeah.
Be very cautious.
I agree as well. So Ruth, it would make a whole lot of sense to be able to do a lot of your research. I've seen quite a number of ads as well, where again, adverts from Nigerians who have just recently relocated and who are also trying to help other people relocate. They want to share their experience and all of that. So some of that might be true, but some of that might just be half truths. So again, your research is your best bet. Maurice, I see your hand is up. Please contribute to the conversation.
Okay, hi. So, for you or any other person that wants to relocate, unfortunately, I can't help with US because I'm not conversant with US. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that with my experience in UK is that there every country has their government website. Like I know for Canada it's CIC, something like that. Then for UK it's gov.uk. Then I don't know US's what's it called, official website. But what I want you to understand is that every country they like to immigrate to has an official website which has reliable information that you need. So even if you see ads, right, you can always go to the official website and try to see are these visas possible, are these visas legal. Now, when you're trying to move abroad, always have one thing in mind, which was one of my biggest scare. And I like to say this: I never use an agent for any of my applications. I did it myself. Why? Because there's human trafficking running around, and there have been stories about people being employed in what we call sweatshops. And as a tailor, you are prone to be employed into a sweatshop where you get into what we call modern slavery. So let me just keep it like this. Whatever you see online, whatever advert you see online, like let's say for instance, it's flying around that teachers are needed in the UK. If you go to gov.uk, you'll see there that yes, recently that there's been what's it called, a visa pathway for teachers. And on there, on the government side for UK, you would see the steps, the processes, even recruiting first on the government website. So whatever you see, always try as much as possible to get that country's government website and go through it because that is the most verifiable,
Authentic,
authentic
yeah.
information you can always get. Thank you.
All
So
right.
just to contribute to that, I think it's very important also that we have a mentality that's self-reliant. We're used to somebody help me, and that makes us vulnerable to these scams. And like Maurice said, every pathway to get into any country is official. It's there. Now the scammers are everywhere. You want to apply for some things, even in the UK, like a driver's license. When you search in Google, you see the sponsored ad that will want to apply for you and put their own markup. It's not illegal, but they will do exactly what you would have done on the DVLA site, the official government website, for you, and then pocket the commission. So there's a lot of that going on. We need to be confident about asking for information, even from the British High Commission. Just ask for information. That's what they are there for. You sometimes think you don't want to approach the British High Commission because you don't want them to have your name on record, or you're afraid. So this is a mentality that is a major cultural difference. You don't want to approach an Oga, and I've suffered from this myself. I did a project that caught the eye of the CEO of what's essentially the biggest bank in the UK where I was working. It was difficult to talk to him because it's all on first name basis here. How can you call someone who is getting £5 million bonus at the end of the year by his first name? So
your Nigerian nature could not allow it.
I'm telling you, Organa. So it takes some time to get used to it. Go forward and ask for information. You see a 5-year-old will come to you and say, "What's your name?" And you say, "This 5-year-old talking to me." But he's asking for information. Give him your name or don't give him. If you say, "I don't want to give you my name," you say, "Well, why not?" And when your own children start acting like that, you have to adapt quickly. But for us as adults, we must recognize that it's a different mindset. Go to the British High Commission, ask for information, tell them, you know what, I'm tired of Nigeria, I want to go to the UK. What's possible for me? They will give you information. It's not a cat and mouse thing.
Yeah.
It's a mindset we need to change. I want to go and live in the UK. How can I go? They will tell you what's possible. They will tell you what you shouldn't do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think I'm going to bring this conversation to a close here. We've basically gone all of the different routes that I could see possible. We've opened it up for questions. Questions have come. Questions have been answered. Thank you all for everyone who joined. I know I'm seeing quite a number of new faces here as well. I know this is probably courtesy some of our listeners or panelists who have been sharing the links with as many of their own communities as possible. Thank you for all tuning in. I know that it's an information session, but I also want to still reiterate before we go, this is not expert advice. It's not professional advice from an immigration service. It's just trying to raise the consciousness of Nigerians about some of the things that we know, some of the things we don't know, some of the things that we should know if we want to take some of these steps. And hopefully, this will equip you better. This will inspire you better to make better decisions, you know, on whatever journey you want to take. This session was recorded, so for all who didn't join from the beginning and who missed a better part of the very informative session we've had, we'll put it up on YouTube on our channel for you guys to be able to listen to. This has been brought to you by the community that I run. It's called Dare That Heal. We basically just inspire people, get them to take action on whatever it is they want to do with their lives, whether it's business, whether it's career, whether it's whatever it is, just Dare That Heal. Hopefully you find it useful, be able to share it with others. And this is where I would like to draw the curtains. Thank you to all our panelists. Thank you, Hindatu Mohammed. Thank you, Morris. Thank you, Mr. Pambode. Thank you, Olutoyin Williams. You already left earlier. And thank you, Lauye Curtis, our in-house fashion guru. Okay, someone says I should spell it there that here, but I could share the link to our WhatsApp community so that you can also join in there. Just a second, let me grab the link and I'll put it in the chat so that you can join. If you do have any more questions, perhaps I would just maybe drop an email where you can ask those questions. But again, like I said to you guys, this is not a formal or professional it's not a professional immigration service, so we're just here to actually, you know, help as many people as possible to think about it the right way. Whatever it is you want to do regarding whether to Japa or not, do it the right way. Be equipped with enough information. Don't jump from frying pan to fire. All right. That's the link right there. You can jump on it and it will take you straight to our WhatsApp community. Jegede Jibola, we're about to close. I see your hand is up. I'm just going to give you 2 minutes to ask your question before we close out for the night. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you. I just have two questions to ask, which is, if you're a married person, right? I would just like to ask, how do you advise to go about it? Should you go with your family, or go first, then your wife, then your kids, or everybody to go at once? Number one. And number two is, if you're in a professional, let's say in the marketing aspect of your career, which is, let's say, digital marketing and the like that, at least you have series of skills and experience over the years. Do you think such jobs are on the rise there? I mean, in terms of opportunity
for you, and also what's it like to take home minimum on a monthly basis in order to survive if you're going to focus on that aspect of your career over there.
All right, so those two questions, I have two very highly resourceful people I'm going to connect you with. If you reach out to me via WhatsApp, maybe via the community over there. Olutoyin, who was on the call tonight, I mean, she's married, and she's relocated. She could maybe give you blow by blow on what to do, how to do it, and all of that. And this entire conversation we're having came out from a digital marketing, because I mean, as a digital marketing professional myself, I belong to the Association of Digital Marketing Professionals of Nigeria. And this conversation sparked up in there. Somebody dropped a tweet in there and said, "Hey, guys, this is what is happening." And one of the people who contributed to that conversation is a professional digital marketer who has also relocated to the UK. And he's the second resource person I'm going to point you towards, who has the specific experience that you're looking to mirror, just like Olutoyin mentioned to us earlier in the chat. And I'm sure he's going to be able to, in fact, mention quite severally in the conversation in our group that he's willing to help anyone who wants to relocate, and so that they know exactly what they might be jumping into if they want to take that leap. So please reach out to me via WhatsApp, and I will point you to those two people. I don't want this conversation to be too long. People can rewatch it over and over again. All right. So thank you, everyone, and have a great night. Join us on our community where we continue to inspire you guys, and have a great week ahead. Thank you.